The racial wealth gap is a pretty daunting issue facing not just the Chicago region, but the entire country. While it's daunting and we know the trust can't do this alone, we also know we can't not take action.
Our overall goal is to have a region that is equitable, thriving, and connected. And one of the biggest obstacles to doing that is the fact that we have this growing wealth inequality between Black and brown communities and white. And so we know that if the community overall is going to thrive, it's going to be important that all people have the ability to reach their full potential, and that we put a particular focus on those who have been left behind.
In Chicago, you have this extraordinary moment where the Chicago Trust, the mayor's office, civic actors of all kinds are really unifying behind an economic inclusion agenda. Our hope with the Shared Prosperity Initiative is that we can find ways through policy analysis, research, data analytics to help them along that process. I see in many ways the role of the Shared Prosperity Partnership in Chicago is helping the Trust really get a running start at the issues it seeks to confront.
We also need to recognize that in many instances, community-based organizations, community organizers, policy and advocacy professionals work separately. And it is very important that we eliminate those silos and we come together with our respective strengths in order to build a movement that is going to create the tide that is going to lift everyone out of poverty.
Simply getting into home ownership, simply getting out of college without debt, simply being able to have capital to start a business are vehicles by which people can iteratively and exponentially grow their wealth. If you have a scenario where somebody is putting all their labor simply to cover their bills, or worse, in an iterative trap where they're still working but yet their debt gets larger and larger, that's a problem.
In Black and Latinos neighborhoods, there are far less business density, meaning the number of businesses per capita, than in white neighborhoods, or Asian neighborhoods for that matter, here in Chicago. If you don't have the situation set up so that you can actually develop businesses of scale, or just businesses in general, then actually those businesses don't grow and thrive in those communities. The only place that the wealth gap closes is if you were an entrepreneur. If you are a Black entrepreneur, the wealth gap actually closed completely.
And if we are serious about our goal of eliminating poverty, we need to put families at the center of the work that we do, and we need to trust that families know what they need. We need to trust that families are the experts in their communities, in their issues, and what they need. They need access to capital to invest in those goals, to advance their values in ways that they think will be good for their families.
The image and the face of the person that we believe that uses payday loans is not just the Black single mother who is trying to make ends meet, or the African American man. It is actually a white female who uses it more often. And so if we could change the narrative, and if we could help our legislature understand that it's their constituents that are being robbed of dollars that could go back into their communities, that are going to payday lenders who are taking the dollars out of the state, we were able to lead in initiatives that forced everybody to kind of reckon with what was actually happening.
As the Trust thought about our particular role in this, we are a regional community foundation. We know a lot of the conversations about the racial wealth gap are focused on federal policy, and that's critically important. We really tried to think about the levers we could pull in the Chicago region and in Illinois. When we think about the racial wealth gap, the first thing we recognize is that there are many organizations who have been at this for many years, nationally and locally. So one of our first steps is to support the work that's already happening and really leverage those voices. But we're also hearing from those folks who have been at this for years that they're kind of at this alone. So how do we bring more voices to that change and more support to that work?
Well, clearly the Trust alone is not going to be able to impact in the way that we would like to see happen. And so it's going to be incredibly important that we have other partners in the private sector, in the nonprofit sector, in the public sector, partner with us, and all of us need to do our part if we're really going to have the impact that we want to have in closing the racial wealth gap here in Chicago and the region.